I would now request Dr. Sunita Narayan, Director General, Center for Science and Environment, India, to kindly come and present her keynote speech.
Thank you so much. Can I have the presentation up and can I get the... Thank you, Carol. I mean, I am so delighted to be here. I wish I could have come for a little longer, but we're in the midst of... this winter, we started off with a very bad air pollution episode in Delhi, and I'm determined that it's not going to get repeated. So I am absolutely obsessively working right now to make sure that we can clean up the air, and we have. This winter has been much better. So please forgive me, but I live and breathe this one issue of air pollution right now and saying we just have to clean up. And I know in Dhaka, I smelt the air yesterday, you are also getting there. So that is going to be another agenda, Secretary Saab, that we will have to work together on. But thank you, Carol. Thank you for asking me to come. Water and waste is my passion. In 2005, Ambassador, we got the Stockholm Water Prize from His Majesty, and that was for rainwater harvesting. And it was a big opportunity to put rainwater harvesting on the global stage, because as yet, I am sure it happens in Bangladesh, but it certainly happens in India. The engineering mindset of our water planners is that even now surface water is considered to be major, but groundwater is considered to be minor. And therefore the bureaucracy, and we have a great caste system in India, so therefore the water bureaucracy sees groundwater as being minor, not relevant. And yet we know today that groundwater is the source which actually provides us both with irrigation as well as with drinking water. And groundwater is only sustainable if you harvest the rain. So the link between groundwater and rainwater is the link that we have broken. And that really is the recreation of that link that I think WaterAid in Bangladesh with Kerul and all his colleagues, with all of you in this room, with CSC, that's the effort that we are trying to make, is to bring back, in a sense, the wisdom that ran our countries of the past. I want to talk today about some of the new work that we have been doing, and I want to take this opportunity to talk about the linkages that we are finding in our world. So I have deliberately titled my presentation saying it is about water wisdom, but for a climate-risked world, and why we need to join the dots today. Today's tragedy, can I have some of the lights? You can see actually. Today's tragedy of the modern world is that we cry when it does not rain, and we cry when it does rain. We're literally going from a cycle of water scarcity to water excess. And we are doing this at a time when we have what I call a double whammy. On one hand, we are mismanaging our own water resources. On the other hand, we have climate change happening. And we need to know what this change is happening in our world, and we need to know what it will mean for the future. Firstly, it's important for us to know that climate change is real. It is resulting in extreme events and increasing variability of our weather events. In India, I always say this, that the finance minister of India is not Mr. Jaitley. He just sits on the chair as the finance minister. The true finance minister of India, and I would imagine for Bangladesh as well, is the monsoon. And that really means with climate change, what is happening is our monsoons will become more variable, are already becoming more variable, more extreme. So on one hand, climate change is real, but on the other hand, our own human mismanagement of water resources is also real. And this is a double whammy that I talked about. This is what is resulting in both water scarcity on one hand, pollution on the other. You're beginning to see your rivers die. You're getting more and more burden of water pollution, which in turn is resulting in bad health. So the linkage between water, its pollution, and health needs to be made much more clearly. And this is where, Carol, the entire global community needs to be able to move out of its silos, because in the SDGs, you have water, you have sanitation, you have pollution, and you have health. But the linkage today really is to be able to understand that if we degrade our water, we will invariably have a very high health burden. Bangladesh is a remarkable success story. You are a model for the entire world to follow in how you have reduced your infant mortality, how you have managed to change your health indicators. But as I stand in front of you today, I would like to give you a word of caution that your urban water management needs to recognize the linkage between water and waste. Because if you don't do that, you will threaten your own success story. And that's really what I, in India, have found with such great problems. Sorry, I'm still learning how to do this. Where do I have to click? I'm clicking at the right place. Okay, sorry. As I said, weird weather has now become the new normal. We are beginning to see more and more unseasonal rainfall. In our part of the world, it will mean that you will get rain in shorter number of rainy days. In India, the data is that we get rain for 100 hours on an average, 100 hours on an average in a year. And this is why when the British came to India, they called India a hydraulic society. And remember, when I say India, when the British came, it meant the subcontinent. They called us a hydraulic society because with so little rain, we managed to build an extremely prosperous civilization. And we did that because we did extraordinary, using ingenuity, we managed our water and our rainwater. Bangladesh is known, like Bengal, is known for its incredible system of the ponds, the tanks, the systems in which you diverted your flood waters so that you could recharge your groundwater across the length and breadth of your country. That was the system of coping with less water. But today we are in a situation where all that is changing and changing fast. Our rain is becoming even more variable. And we have destroyed our ponds and tanks, all our sponges, our system, our ingenious system of being able to manage that flood. So today we are getting to a situation where unseasonal rain is basically meaning that you go from drought to flood. I'll give you the instance of 2016 in India. We have found invariably, 3 years we have tracked now, if you look at this, freak weather has meant that the amount of area which is destroyed because of hailstorm, because of flood, has increased. And this is all increasing because of the unseasonality of weather that is happening in our world. When we began last year, India was going through the most crippling drought possible, really bad drought. Last January, February, March, April, May, June, you were talking about a country which was on its knees because of water scarcity. You were hearing about devastating stories of how farmers were being affected, their crops destroyed, their cattle with no place to go because of drought. And my colleagues started working then on a cover story on drought and looking at both the extent of drought, but also looking at where villagers had coped with water scarcity, how they had managed their water, how they had done rainwater harvesting. Even as we put that issue together in May, and we were just about to publish it on the 5th of June, we moved from drought to flood. And by the July issue, we did a cover story looking at how bad the flood was in the country. And when we started understanding the nature of the flood, what also came out, and this next map I do want you to see carefully, if I can get it happening. I find this technology. Okay. I want you to see this map. If you look at this map, what it shows you is most of the floods of 2016 were preceded by extreme rain events. Precipitation, which was 124 millimeters in 24 hours. Our average rain in India is 600 to 800 millimeters. If you get rain of 124 millimeters in one day, you go from drought to flood. And if you have destroyed your systems for holding your rain, for managing your rainwater, you go from flood to drought again. And this is really where rainwater harvesting becomes so critical in the world that we have today. It's critical because of our own water needs. It's also critical because of the changing nature of the climate. And so in this, in my view, water wisdom is the key. Rain will be more seasonal, more variable, and as Bangladesh is finding out now, what we found out a few years ago, a decade ago, is that your cities will grow, your industries will grow. Your cities and industry will need more water. If you look at the Western world, the bulk of the water that is used in the Western world is used in their cities and industry. In our world, it is currently used in agriculture. But thank you so much, but as our economies develop, as our cities grow, as our industries go, water will be required for our cities and for industry. And this is the critical dot that we need to join. And if industries and cities do not plan today and differently, they will continue to use clean water and discharge wastewater. And therefore, what you will get is more and more pollution. Available water, which is already scarce, will be even more destroyed. And in this situation, what will happen, and I could hear that it is beginning to happen in Dhaka, as you destroy your local water bodies, as you destroy your own river because of pollution, your city will require to bring water from further and further away. You will source your water from another river which is far away because you have destroyed your own river. I don't know if Dhaka will do this, but I can tell you for certainty, we have done this in India. City after city. We've destroyed our local water system, our ponds, our tanks. We have polluted our rivers. And today we are looking for new water somewhere far off. And I understand Dhaka is also searching for water and going to bring it some 33 kilometers away. This is part of our city's water story. You have the ability of changing it. You are just embarking on this journey. Sorry. If you look at the water city and story in our cities today, water is sourced from further and further away. That is what is happening city after city. But then what happens is that it leads to increased cost of supply. And this is very important because you will be the manager of the city development, and you will find that today your cost of water is low because you are sourcing it from groundwater. As you get water from further and further away, your pipeline length will increase. The longer the pipeline, the higher the distribution loss in the pipeline. The more the energy costs to bring the water to the city, you will then find you will have even less water at the end of the pipeline to supply. Less water means more costly water. But what this does, and this is what we have done, and you have to not allow this to happen in Dhaka, is that all city planners then spend all their money on bringing water to the city. They have absolutely no money to spend on sewage. And no city today charges for sewage. And yet, this is the crisis. And this happens because we abuse our local water sources. We never make the link with rainwater. Today, in most Indian cities, people use groundwater because water supply does not reach them. Dhaka is unusual. You use groundwater as your primary source of water supply. But in both your case and in our case, we have not recharged our groundwater. And we have to remember, groundwater is decentralized. So recharge of groundwater has to be decentralized. You can't recharge groundwater as you would recharge a dam. So today, your big crisis, our big crisis is that because we don't value each raindrop, we do not recharge the groundwater. And because we do not recharge our groundwater, groundwater tables are declining. In Dhaka, I was stunned to hear that your groundwater table, I was told, is at 1,000 feet today. You are now